Hi, I'm Victoria Lisi, and I teach drawing at Ames Community College in Loveland. And in this demo, I'm going to draw the front view of a child's face. So I have a photo of a child here, and I'm going to start out, and I'm going to start out lightly in pencil because I want to get my, I always start very lightly, and so you probably can't see anything yet, but you can just follow my arm motions. I always start out very lightly because I might want to make a lot of changes. If I start out really dark, then I have to erase a lot, and I don't want to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sphere. And a child's face is rounder than an adult's face. So the sphere is going to be a little bit more round. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to establish the eye line. And the eye line on a child's face is lower than in an adult. In an adult, it's almost always halfway, but in a child it's below halfway. So we're going to make sure that this is below halfway. And this looks about right to me. So I'm going to make this eye line. And this eye line just sort of tells me where the eyes go. And I do this very lightly because I'm going to erase these lines later. And then I do another line that goes sort of through. And that's just to make sure the face is symmetrical. So I have this cross that's below the eye line. And you're just going to have to measure. The younger the child, the lower the eye line. Now the nose comes about halfway between the eye line and the chin. The mouth comes about 1/3 of the way, and I put these little light lines here. And then the hairline comes up here, and so. And now I'm just going to place the eyes before I start darkening anything. Now eyes are generally one eye width apart, but on children they're oftentimes a little further apart. So I usually start with one eye, and then I do the other eye. And I try to make them the same approximate size. And then I'm just going to sketch the nose in a little bit and sketch. I just want to get a few little lines established before I start with my darker pencil lines. So just doing this so I don't run into problems later. Oh, and the ears, well, she's looking a little down, so the ears are up above the nose. And children's ears are smaller than adult ears. So now I'm going to go in with a darker pencil, and I usually start with the eyes. So I'm just going to get this eye established, and I'm just going to start with one eye. And then I'm going to go to the pupil, or the iris rather. And one thing to remember with the iris is it's round, but the top of the round iris is under the eyelid. So I'm making this circle, but it's being bisected actually on both sides a little bit. And children's irises are larger than adults' irises. Or proportionally, actually. I think the eye grows and the iris stays the same, but it makes the child's eyes look bigger. So the younger the child, the larger the iris. So I'm trying to match these two, trying to get them approximately the same size and shape. And again, the top is covered. Then I'm going to do the pupil. And her eyes are really dark, so I'm sort of doing this from memory. And then I'm going to darken that in, and then I'm going to leave the glint. I always like to leave a glint because it makes eyes sparkle. So I'm trying to just keep these eyes symmetrical, and I always start with the eyes because I want them to match. And again, the top of the iris is under the lid too, and the whole top of the eye is shaded by the eyelid. So those look approximately the same. So now I'm just going to go in and get some eyelid and eyebrows, This girl has a rather dark eyebrows, but most children's eyebrows are pretty light, so you don't want to overdo it. It might make them look too mature. Children's faces are slightly different from adults, and the younger the child, the more they differ. So a little shading, not a lot. Now I'm going to go to the nose, and I found generally people don't overdo noses because less is sometimes more. On this nose, I'm not seeing a great deal. I'm seeing nostrils, and I'm seeing very lightly the wings to the nostrils, but I'm not seeing a lot on the eyes, on the nose, so I'm not going to emphasize them. I see some of the shadow that, I don't know what this is called. It's this little area. And then I'm going to go to the mouth. I'm going to do the line, and she's smiling, so. And I'm looking up, and I'm seeing kind of where that hits on the eye. And it's always good to kind of make measurements on your face to see where it lines up. And then I'm just going to do the upper lip. And children's skin is really soft. They don't have a lot of wrinkles, so you don't want to put stuff in there that you don't even see. She does have little dimples. And then there's a little bit of shading under the lip. So now I've sort of got her features established, and I'm going to go to the sides of her face, and I'm going to bring it in a little bit and try to shape her face a little more. She's got a kind of a heart-shaped face. And I'm trying to get the chin lined up. And then I want to make this and this symmetrical. So, and then I'm just going to get the ears in here. They're a little higher. And then I'm going to start getting some hair in here. And top of the head. And the most common mistake people make with children is they do not give them a big enough head, particularly the top of the head, because it goes up fairly high. So you want to get the top of the head. And then I'm just going to put the hair shapes in. And hair is very tricky to draw. It's easy to just think of it, squint your eyes when you look at the hair and see if you just see sort of shapes and shadows. And that's what you want to do. You just want to put your shapes and shadows in you don't want to sit and draw every single hair. That's not going to look right. And it's going to be very boring to do. So that's not what you want to do. You want to just get your basic shapes in. And children have narrow shoulders, so you want to keep the shoulders narrow. She wouldn't look right with big, broad shoulders. And again, you just want to get those. I'm just putting the shapes of the hair in. I might do a little shading later, but I'm not trying to do just a bunch of lines for hair. So I'm just getting these, again, squint my eyes when I look at the reference, but not when I look at my painting or drawing. So I've got these shapes in. And I don't need to put in every shape I see. I'm going to probably simplify it a little bit for the purposes of this. So I've got the basic shapes, and now I'm going to do a little bit of shading, not a lot. And I'm going to shade in the direction that the hair is growing and falling, because that's going to make it look like hair. So just And I'm squinting my eyes when I look here and I see where the dark shadows fall, and that's where I'm going to put my shading. And I'm just going to leave the light areas white pretty much because it'll make her hair look shiny. Again, this is a sketch. I'm not trying to do some super complete drawing that takes days. And I want to get my dark shadows here because that's where her hair is darkest. I'm always changing. As I go along, I see that, you know, and also children's skin is really soft. I want to keep, I'm not going to put dark, harsh shadows on her. It would make her look old. And she's very young, and her skin is very smooth. So we're just going to do very delicate shading on her face. And just gradually shade it in. Again, if I tried to draw every single hair that I saw, it would be very boring for me. So I'm trying to just give the illusion of hair without drawing every strand. So that means just following the flow of the hair without trying to draw every single hair. And I really am just drawing the hair in the shadow areas. Again, I'm just going to try to establish some of the basic shadows. Squint my eyes when I look at her. And just soft shading. Just in those areas that need it. And I can always go back in with my chamois cloth if I think. And chamois cloth is really good for skin. It actually tends to look sort of skin-like. So if I felt the shadow's too harsh, I'll just soften it a little bit. I'm just going to darken a few areas. And her hair is kind of not that smooth in certain areas, and I'm just going to ignore that and smooth it out because I don't want to get too bogged down into all kind of unnecessary detail that I don't really need for this. So you're always simplifying, you're always making decisions as you draw, and sometimes some of my decisions are, do I really want to draw that, or do I just want to indicate that because it might be tedious. So I'm just going to do a little more shading here. I'm just about ready to wrap this up. I could spend all day on this hair, but just trying to give you the illusion of hair. Again, you're always making decisions in your drawing about what you want to emphasize and what you want to leave out. And it's a very organic process. As your drawing never ends up where you thought it was going to be. But sometimes it's more interesting than you thought it was going to be. Again, her neck casts a shadow, so I'm going to get some shading on her neck, but I want to soften it a little. And you can even add a little bit of shading. And then I want to go in and I've got these crosshairs that I want to erase because I don't need them anymore. And just finishing this up here. Again, squint my eyes when I look at her and I'll see the shadows better. I have to remind myself to do that. I'll darken her eyes just a little more because I want them to be the most prominent part of the drawing. So I think that's all I'm going to do on this for now. There's a lot more I could do, but for this demonstration, I think get a sense of it. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed watching this demo of a child's face, front view. The rules for side view and 3/4 view are very different. So this is only for the front view. So thank you very much, and have fun drawing.